Early one misty morning at Wheaton Labs, the members of the ant village packed into Paul's van for a road trip to Northern Idaho. On a wooded property outside of Bonner's Ferry, we met up with Mike Oehler, author of the $50 and Up Underground House book. He took us on a tour of his underground buildings. He started the tour with some of the smaller outbuildings he had built over the last 40 years while experimenting with his techniques. The first building he showed us was a $15 house, which is now serving as a library, complete with a small forest growing on the roof. The next was a community house that was never quite finished, but had integrated many of Oehler's techniques for bringing light in from many angles. From here, we went up to the site of his original $50 house and its $500 addition. Walking through this little hidden doorway felt like walking into a piece of living history. Everything inside was left just as it was when Mike moved out of this house many years ago. Even though this house is over 40 years old, it is still in quite livable condition and has a beautiful feeling to it. Mike sat down in his old chair and he answered our questions about the building and told us stories about hand digging this house out of the hill and building it mostly by himself. It occurred to me that Mike was in much the same situation as us ants when he started on this land, and it was encouraging to know that he pulled through and made a way for himself. Although the house was nice and bright inside, this small window is the only thing visible from down the hill, making the house almost impossible to see. Up the hill from here, we checked out the underground greenhouse, which actually served as someone's home for a few winters. Mike had a lot to say about the advantages of building underground. After touring all of the older structures, we drove up a long steep driveway to take a look at Mike's showpiece, the Ridge House. This is an absolutely stunning house, built into the natural descending curve of the ridgeline. It is built to house several people, so it has many different rooms and creative loft spaces. There are windows everywhere, letting lots of light in, and the roof is a nice grassy meadow. We had a great time exploring this incredible house and listening to Mike's stories. I felt very blessed to be able to meet and talk to Mike Oehler, one of the pioneers of the Back to Land and permaculture movements. Mike and his land are inspiring beyond words. I left this place feeling newly recharged and ready to build my own underground house and homestead. Back at Wheaton Labs, we finally got some fresh dry straw bales to use in the Allerton Abbey project, and I was able to get back to work on the lower wall, this time with a much better mindset. I was able to think of some ways to reduce the complexity of the build and got most of the straw bales stacked up into the wall in a short time. I was looking at the project with new eyes and was able to find creative solutions to the problems I perceived before. The visit to Mike Oehler's has me thinking about many different new possibilities for my winter home, and so work continues cutting and peeling logs for building materials. I'm not quite sure what the house will look like yet, but I do know that there's lots to do before the snow starts falling. Though there are lots of challenges now and in the future, I have to keep reminding myself that maintaining a positive attitude is the most important part of any endeavor.